Let's start on the topic New Age Social Entrepreneur. This is being moderated by Mr. Mitesh Setwala. Mitesh Setwala. His education is IT engineering and MBA marketing plus 9 years of industry experience. He's a co-founder at Hashtaggy.com e-commerce marketplace development agency. He's the ex-head of marketing Friendly.in, social commerce grocery shopping app. Ex-founder at CEO at Ala Grand Retail Private Limited, Gujarat's biggest fashion e-commerce marketplace. Managing director at U Dedicated, an IT company. He is awarded by Gujarat's Chief Minister, Gujarat's Education Minister, Gujarat University Vice Chancellor, Gujarat Technological University Vice Chancellor, Gujarat's Most Promising Startup by Vibrant Gujarat Startup Summit 2016, Gujarat Corporate Social Responsibility Association. He is funded by Government of Gujarat. Investment at valuation of 20 crore for a fashion e-commerce business in 2016. Let us know something about Hashtaggy. Hashtaggy.com is a leading web and mobile app development agency in the field of custom B2B, B2C, and D2C e-commerce marketplace development. We have designed 7 marketplaces in 2021, out of which 3 successfully raised funding at valuation above $1 million US dollars. Welcome, Mr. Mitesh. Over to you for the panel discussion. Nice to have you at Vyapar Jagat Convention and Awards 2021.
Thank you so much, Kavita, for the wonderful introduction. The entire introduction was about business, amount of valuation, etc., which is capitalist in its own nature, right? And the discussion and the topic today is about the new age social business, which is entirely opposite to what we do the business for. So today I've been given this topic, and I'm, it's an honor to host 5 such wonderful people who are doing business with a social mindset, where they want to create a social impact. They are a new age social entrepreneur, and it's an honor to host this panel. So let us shift from entire being capitalist to socialist for a moment, and let us talk to these people. So I have with me 5 amazing people, and what I'll do is I'll just briefly introduce them, and I want to give you at least 1 or 2 minutes, everybody, to talk about what you do, so that precisely you can tell all the viewers about your initiative in a very short, let's say 1 or 2 minute introduction. I know a couple of you in person. I am meeting a couple of you for the first time. So let me start with the first panelist today, Hani Bakchandani. Hani, I have heard about you a lot. I saw your recent award taking photo on the social media, and I felt extremely proud about your initiative, and it's an honor to host you here. So Hani, I'll talk briefly about you. Mostly people know that you have a business by the name of Torchit. You are helping differently able people with your products and services that you've built around. Can you briefly tell us about Torchit in 1 or 2 minutes?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Mitesh, and thank you for having me here. So hello everyone, this is Hani Bakchandani, founder of Torchit. Torchit is a social enterprise working towards empowerment and upliftment of the persons with disability by providing most innovative and affordable solutions. And so far we have impacted 100,000 lives by providing our devices in more than 22 countries. And happy to share my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Hani. The number itself is very huge. 100,000 is a very large number. So everybody, Hani is a student of PDPU, if I'm correct, right? In the industrial engineering. He has done some courses. The achievement of the entire panel is very long, right? So they've done. So Ani has done the course on MIT Media Labs from US, and it will go on and on. So I'll not go in more detail, but good to have you here, Ani. We will discuss about Torchit in more detail when we start our discussion. The second panelist is somebody I know personally very well, and a very good friend, Yogita Ahuja, who runs a business by the name of Story Circle. She is an amazing storyteller. I know personally, and we are today talking about her initiative, EduSarthi, which is a social initiative where she's impacting a lot of life through this particular initiative. EduSarthi, if I'm correct, is incubated at IIM Bangalore. And we'd like to know more again, 1 or 2 minutes, Yogita, from your, words. What do you do at EduSarthi?
Sure. Are you able to hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
So, Story Circle, EduSarthi in particular, is envisioned as India's first storytelling-centric, tech-enabled platform, which is aimed at specifically skilling individual and school educators, thereby, helping them become self-reliant edupreneurs, starting their home-based storytelling practice, while also enabling the building of capability and capacity at the school level to drive the implementation of our new education policy 2020. So, basically we look at ourselves as skilling educators today to nurture students tomorrow. So that's a very, very short introduction of EduSarthi, and I'll be happy to talk about it more later.
Thank you so much, Yogita. We'll definitely discuss more in detail, and we'll want to know more about EduSarthi as we go on with the discussion. Our third panelist today is Anuya Trivedi, who runs Green Buddies initiative, where Anuya, I went through your website and I love all the photographs that you've kept, the tires and everything that you've painted, and it is so good to see the kids outside houses with those photos in today's world, because all the parents today have a concern that my kid is, so the generation has shifted from come home early to please go outside of home and don't use mobile, right? So I love your initiative, Green Buddies. Can you tell our viewers a little bit more in detail what do we do at Green Buddies, Anuya?
First of all, I would like to say thank you so much. You have beautifully explained the initiative. And yes, at Green Buddies, we are creating recycled playstations, or you can say green playstations for children. This motivates them to play, connect more with nature, and inculcate the recycling concept into their minds. We do this by using tires and a lot of metal and plastic scrap, which is created in schools by children, like from the playground, from the broken benches. And yeah, that's it. That's my initiative.
Wonderful. Definitely, I'd like to know more about it once we start the discussion. Yeah. We have J. Felix, who is from the field of technology and innovation. We are an IT company ourselves, so we understand how much you put an effort in terms of technology innovation, and you are in the field of harvesting technology, if I'm correct, right, sir? So sir, can you please explain a bit about your business, DMAC Innovation Private Limited, and what do you do at this business?
Good afternoon all. Thank you very much for this opportunity to discuss about things what we are doing. Actually, I'm basically an agricultural engineer. We are doing machineries for just to clean the agricultural product, where when after harvesting we'll find a lot of foreign materials, and even inside the seed or grain only there will be a lot of immatures and all. So we use physical properties of the grains to separate unwanted material from the wanted material. So we'll discuss in detail about that.
Good to know, sir. Definitely. We have one more fifth panelist today on this platform, Nida Sutaria. She's helping a lot of social startups in terms of their growth, their expansion with the ideas and all. Good to have you, Nida. Can you briefly talk about yourself in 1 or 2 minutes for our audience to know more about your initiatives?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me over here. So I currently am a director at Asman Foundation. Asman Foundation is an NGO, and apart from that, through the platform of Asman Foundation, we are helping a lot of startups for their pilot programs, for helping the social entrepreneurs in getting the field knowledges and all. So at Asman, we work with children, and we are having few of the children who are trying to become micro entrepreneurs at their level. So that is how we are working, and we are like trying to collaborate with social enterprises and supporting them further. Yeah,
I have personally been part of a lot of initiatives at Asman, at IIM Vastrapur or some a book fair or whatsoever. So I think everybody in Ahmedabad knows Asman very well. So good to have you here, Nida. And we will like to now have discussion with everybody. So can we have everybody together? Yeah. So so there are so I am personally somebody who started business with a absolute mindset of profit, right? And the end goal is to make money in the kind of business we are. Whereas you are not an NGO. So sometimes people might understand you as an NGO, while you have to differentiate yourself that we have a product, we sell it, people pay price for it, and there are a lot of trade-offs that happen. How do you put price where you also want to make the product available to as many as possible, and you also want to sustain your business, because at the end it's a business, right? So I want to understand a couple of things, and we'll go one by one. Honey, in your case, to start with, you want this product to be utilized by as many as people that you can impact, and at the same time you want to sustain this business, right? Because there are very rare chances, I believe, that of course people do have good initiatives, but that is not the purpose, right? So we want to make money, we want to create better products, new age products in technology, and we want to reach more people. So first of all, do people understand you as an NGO, and how do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah, so like people are confused, like we are NGO, or we are why we are private limited company. So actually we are private limited company, and we are having profit from day one. So if we don't have profit, so how we can impact millions? So there are a lot of if we cannot set our pricing model perfectly, so we cannot go beyond the Gujarat, Ahmedabad, or India. So there, and I'm happy to share, like we have created that kind of pricing model. So we have impacted 100,000 lives. So they are with the hardware product,
right?
And there are people who are selling softwares, but not proper in our field, disability. They are providing softwares, but not proper pricing model. They cannot reach more than 25,000, 30,000 users.
Right.
Like application download is free of cost, even though they are not able to reach 100,000. So if you're perfectly setting your pricing model, then of course, and if you're not sustained in yourself, then how can you grow? How can you impact millions? So I'm proudly say we are social impact. We are having impact first, revenue second. But of course, revenue with profit is not less than 45% of our priority. 55% priority is impact, of course, but revenue is our second most priority.
Right. So is it same with everybody on the panel, that you look at your business in terms of both? And of course, as Hani is saying, the impact is first. We have set our targets in numbers, and the numbers are always in terms of revenue, profit, and all. You must have set your target in terms of impact, that we want to reach to this many people. So is it the same with everybody? Anybody can answer this question. Yogita, Nida, J. Felix, anybody?
Yeah, so, since you mentioned, let me take this opportunity. In fact, the kind of field that we have picked up, which is storytelling, people generally question, acha, kahani sunane ke liye aap paise loge? everybody's a born storyteller, as we say. However, the tool that we've picked up is again like driving. Everybody can drive, but you need to hone your skill of driving by continuous learning and practicing around it. And therefore, it is a task to let people understand that, this comes at a price. However, for us, if the end goal is to impact the children, millions of children across the country. And to do that, we can't reach every individual child. Therefore, the teacher or the mother becomes the prime source to, impact multiple lives. So therefore, when we look at our impact, when we look at our success, it is balanced between what is the impact we are creating and are we a fair profit organization? Because if we don't sustain ourselves, as Hani rightly said, then how do we impact people? So I haven't put a number 45, 55 to it, but definitely the priority is impact, but a sustainable impact, self-sustained.
I have a question for you, Nida. You're running Asman since very long, right?
To see our panel.
So how do you sustain for so long? In terms of, you must have come across some other opportunities in between where there are lucrative businesses more than sometimes we see the trade-off, right? Forget about the social initiative. It was a passion. It was a fun when we were young, when we were in college. Now it's all about our life, our own personal goals. And you have to set this trade-off. And all the social entrepreneurs that they're looking at this video right now and watching us, they prepare themselves for this initiative for the longer period of time. You will have a trade-off. It's not a job that you resign today and you join another job. You have consciously chosen this initiative. You want to impact a lot of people, and there will be more hurdle because the kind of initiative you have taken, of helping people. So how do you sustain for a long period in terms of self-motivated? And what do you do for that? Of course, once you are large, people join you for this initiative. But in the beginning, sustaining this initiative, what are the hurdles that you have faced in Asman, and what is your own experience? If you can tell our viewers.
So definitely, as we all know, every organization needs a fuel, and that fuel is not just monetary, but also human resource and all. So when it comes to NGOs or when it comes to social entrepreneurship, I would compare it at one level wherein the impact for NGO or an impact for social enterprise is at the same level wherein we are thinking that benefit of people. But how it differentiates is amongst the kind of the type of the organization it is. Like for NGOs, generally we are on charitable funds and grants and everything. So yes, we do have certain programs which are having particular, like we start only if we have a donor for long-term period. Only we take up the responsibility if we have the commitment from the funding partners. So like the way in social enterprise people are getting the investors, same way now slowly at in organizations or in NGOs, or specifically if I speak about Asman, we start long-term initiative programs only if we have partners who have the same or the like-mindedness in the mission which we have. And because the reason is that we need to have human manpower, right? So for manpower, I cannot always go and tell, as you said, that now we are not in college, we are not in kind of a place wherein every time the volunteers would be there. So yes, to have the quality manpower, we do require funds for that. And being into NGO, when we know that we are not able taking the fees, or we are not able to do profitable thing, we need to have such partners. I would say they are kind of the people who are helping us in creating the fuel. So these are the hurdles generally which we feel when we ask the partners that itna salary we have to give. So they are like, NGO hai, salary kyun hoga, all those things. So we need to explain them, and we need to share with them in a way that this is not an administrative cost. This is an operational cost which will go for educating a child. Just the way a school is running, the centers are also running the same way, and we need people for that, or we need for like transportation part or for workshop part. Like if Yogita is conducting a story session, she definitely is going to help me once or twice with a volunteering session. But if I want her to impact and give my children for longer period, I definitely would be willing her to also earn not as the kind of a commercial thing would be, but yes, definitely what her time has to be valued. So her and her skills has to be valued. So these type of challenges we face with the corporate donors who are joining along with us. So yeah, that is it.
Absolutely. Felix, I want to know from you, so how, since how long you've started this initiative and this particular business?
I started at 2018.
2018. Okay, so, to you and to Anuya both, there are some industries which has impacted during Corona a lot, right? And those initiatives which are social at mind, and has to impact, and there are some commercial business, if they have enough profit to survive for the longer period of time, while on the other side, we keep reinvesting a lot because we want to impact to a lot of people. How has been Corona to you and to Anuya? Because Anuya's case, the problem is schools were shut down. People are hesitant to send their kids to the school, even if it's opening, then certain parents, because I got to know there is one form each and every school was signing, that you're taking responsibility of your kid, and the parents were hesitant to sign that form, that if you're signing this form, sorry, I'm not sending my kid. And then these new virus waves and everything. So how do you guys still survive such trouble areas, and still keep yourself motivated that I'll go on.
Yeah, as far as our business is concerned, though we are into agricultural segment, there is a lot of sub segments are there. Like we had supplied to seed divisions where they are producing a seed and supplying to farmers, and some industry like oil production. Everywhere cleaning is a first segment for any agricultural product. It should undergo the cleaning. So yes, seed segment was unaffected because of Corona, but some like consumable segment, they were drastically down because of like hotels and all shut off, things like that has some effect. I would say that it is some industry was open 50-50, I can say. It was okay.
Right. Anuya, in your case?
So yes, ours was like permanently shut. It was just like when the lockdown opened, we have created some schools because of the policy which have came, NEP 2020, which supports the sustainable schools, sustainable designings, playgrounds, and we were already in touch with these government schools. So yes, we were able to generate the income to sustain our team, and that's it, not more than that. So yes, that was a real struggle phase for us, but I kept motivating me plus my team that okay, apna time aayega post COVID, when the things will be over. So everybody be safe, be vaccinated, and that's it. That's I have done during the tenure.
So I think yes, I've just become father 2 months back, and now I can understand that I want my kid to focus less on mobile, and absolutely everybody wishes today's time that less to focus on mobile and computer, and please go out, do some physical activities, learn the real life skill of bonding friends and physical activities. So I think in future people will pay you very heavy amount, as much as they're paying to Byju's today for digital learning. The entire shift will be on the other side, and you can charge a hefty amount in future because it will be rare, and people will be happily sending their kids for this wonderful work that you're doing. So yes, definitely, apna time aayega will be very true in your case.
Thank you so much.
So there is one more thing about, you know, a lot of you might have benefited tying up with NGOs, right? So at the end, the goals of NGO are not to make profit, but to impact society. So their larger part is to impact society, and they need stakeholders who can help them to achieve it faster. And because of your such initiative, I'll talk about one or two businesses which are doing it at large. So there are, I don't know if you have heard about this term, social commerce. So social commerce, just like social enterprises, it is the commerce done through society. So e-commerce is done through online businesses, like, you know, and the same way there are social commerce which are, you know, scaling these days large in India and across the world, where the commerce is happening through society. So maybe your neighbor is becoming an agent of a large enterprise, large organization. He's taking your order, he's delivering you the products or whatsoever, and they are making some marginal income. So and this is happening a lot in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So they are becoming self-sufficient in terms of making income, learning digital. So internet has penetrated to tier 2, tier 3, as we all know, after the Jio movement. I believe the current generation is going through the phase that they are using the free tools. It can be Facebook, TikTok is banned, but PUBG, whatsoever is free on the internet is being used in tier 2, tier 3 as of now. After 3 to 4 years, the moment they have the financial access as much as we have in city, like, you know, banks and debit card and credit card, they will all be part of the economy in terms of contributing to economy or generating economy. And and through your initiative, I believe a lot of people are becoming self-sufficient in their own world, right? So maybe Honey's product is helping to differently able people to sustain his lifestyle, her lifestyle, maybe do some more activity where they can be self-sufficient. Similarly, Yogita's tutor who are taking skills of, you know, teaching students, they can charge a marginal amount to the society and they can become self-sufficient, right? So economic impact through this social initiative is a very big, of course, not as much as the commercial businesses, but it is now growing. So if you can tell us, any one of you can tell us some story, some anecdote where you have seen this happening in your businesses, where, you know, people have started earning bread and butter. They are more happy that, you know, now I'm self-dependent, and you have such. So I'm sure a lot of you will have some stories to share with our audience. Anyone can pick up this from your end.
I can go. since you've asked about a story, so I'm
sure so many, but a very small, very little, where, you know, people.
Yes, absolutely. So you know, I pilot tested the EduSaarathi. So, we had a storytelling center running for about 2.5 years, and when it got shut due to pandemic, that's when EduSaarathi platform came into picture, and that's thought that, okay, let's reach out to the individual women educators, because a lot of them were losing their jobs or getting the heavy pay cuts, and therefore it was becoming difficult for them to sustain. So that's how EduSaarathi platform got born. And because our web app and tech part wasn't ready, or I had not even thought about it, instead of just launching it in Ahmedabad and Gujarat, we just announced it on, you know, an online thing, and we got 11 women who signed up from different parts of the country for the first the pilot testing program, which was the storytelling certification program. And I'm so happy to share that not just 1, 2, 3, all of the 10 out of 11 women have started their independent storytelling practice from home, teaching to local neighborhood students, and charging minimal income. Of course, you know, people are not paying that much right now, but they are able to, you know, some of them were teachers and they got an additional income. Some of them were homemakers and they got an opportunity to start their own little, practice, and come out of and balance the work and home aspect, which, you know, being young mothers. So we've had people from Hyderabad, even in Ahmedabad, Baroda, a small place like Jodhpur, starting on their own. And then, of course, we've done 4 more batches, and there are a lot of success stories around that. And that gives me a lot of joy that not just we are helping women become self-sufficient, we are enabling schools to have better skilled educators, and at the same time, we are helping children discover the joy of learning right in their neighborhood or in their school itself. So yeah, that's in small part.
Right.
Can
Yes.
I go for a second?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So this is our flex called Sarthi. So with the help of Sarthi, like during the COVID, we have team of 40-45 percentages like visually impaired. So like they started calling to over 45,000 users like in 2020 first lockdown आया तब. So out of 45,000 people, we got to know like because of our product, 8,000 got directly employed because it is increased their potential like confidence to take new opportunities.
Absolutely.
So this is the impact, and now we have impacted 100,000 lives. So maybe the number is doubled.
So
And
in a way, this 8,000 has 2, 3, 4 people dependent on them as a family. So the impact is anyway 40-45,000 directly. If I say indirectly, it will be very large. Yes, Nida or Anuya, you were saying something.
So yeah, I would like to share a very quick case. Actually, 2 years back, we have created a playground in a village. When we go from Sanand to Kutch, from on that highway, there comes a village named Vidam Gaon. So we have we have a practice like we hire local workers also apart from the team to create some work and some employment. So these were some villagers which we hired to create a seat weaving from tires. So yeah, they have done that. Right. And after a year, I was going through that road, and I have seen that on the roadside there were people who were selling those weaved tire seats. So this is the impact, like people are getting impacted. The recycling concept is getting inculcated to their minds, not only people, even children. Like the impact which social organizations create is not, it's not like 1 or day 2. It's like, it's exponential. You cannot imagine what can happen, like if 10 people get impacted from this initiative. So yes.
Absolutely. Yes, so, Nita, you were saying.
Yeah. So we conduct a lot of training workshops, and we also make our parents participate in different programs, because we want that at one side the students are growing, but on the other side the family also needs to their level of income and everything increases. So during one of the government training programs wherein we sent 4 of our parents for learning puppet making and all. So we were like, this was pre-COVID, which we did, and we had sent them, and we just wanted them that as they know the skill of stitching and all, if they are learning, that it will help them some or other way. And during COVID, we got one of the kind of an event person who slowly and gradually from events shifted towards using puppet in his YouTube videos and using that and all. So he saw somewhere about some of our parents puppets and all, and just contacted us. And later on, we came to know that now that parent is creating puppets and is going and selling to the retailers in the shops. So that's how he converted his own stitching from one of stitching into garment thing he was already doing, but now the family is also creating small puppets and other different things, and they are now selling to the stationery and the the toy people and everything. We never knew that this training would impact in this way, but now they are able to earn through that. Yeah.
So I believe commercial. So we generally take in our commercial businesses, we take NPS, which is called Net Promoter Score. You might have seen when you when you buy any product from Zomato or you pay somebody in Paytm, they're giving a rating of 1 to 10, how likely you are to recommend this product to your friend, right? So they ask you most of the times to rate their product and services. That is called NPS. NPS in such businesses are very high, because promoting such product or services gives a satisfaction that, at least I did something where somebody will benefit. And this is the impact that, we see when we find anybody who can be beneficial from any of your businesses or services. We will definitely recommend, not because of course, there's no incentive for me. Ideally for commercial services, people think of an incentive, but for such services, people are more likely to recommend without any incentive, because the incentive is that I recommended, you got this product service, you're benefiting. I became the medium for you to reach to this product. Felix, in your case, the beneficiaries mostly are farmers, right? And if I'm correct.
Initially, now we have been supplying to the persons where farmers are selling their products.
Okay.
And now during this COVID time, we went into one small design change, like to make a mobile unit to take to the farmer level, so that they can clean their product and do the value addition there only to get a better price for their production. So that we have made one prototype and sent to Andhra Pradesh. We have to see how the performance and all, because this varieties change, everything has some additional cost. So as a prototype, we are working on that. Still, we have to see the overall impact of part.
Right. I understand. So, I just wanted to ask that how many of you have taken the help of NGOs to, the early topic as I was discussing, to reach out to more number of people? Is it helping? Should all the social startups or enterprises should go to the nearby NGOs? Should it be beneficiary to board in terms of commercial angle, or should it be, give me some context of the people that you have, and I would like to offer my services? How does it work? I have not much idea about it. How do you convince people to become a long-term partner with you in your motive or your goal?
So
Yes.
I would like to tell a story. When I've started this initiative, I have created some initial playgrounds for free for mainly underprivileged kids. So when I started, I reached out to these people who were in NGOs or in education system and working for kids through some NGO like Gandhi Fellowships, Swaniti Initiative. And I haven't asked them for money, no financial help. I asked them to come and volunteer at the playground. So they came to the playground, their teams came, and the kind of impact they have seen, the beauty, the impact on children, the playfulness, the happiness. So it paid me off in a long run. Like they came to our place, they created the playground, they have gone back to their organizations, showed our projects, and the end result was like we have collaborated with these organizations to create these playgrounds for more number of schools.
Right.
In our case, we didn't go to NGO level, but we have gone to like temples or, for example, Raghavendra Math, where they feed a lot of devotees. They are coming and taking food. So we have seen some machineries and all outdated one. So we have made a special machines for them, and we have supplied to them to clean their product before taking into cooking.
Right.
So that initiative.
Maybe some association. I don't know if in your case there are association as well apart from the temples, or so the best way to find the places where this is happening, right? Temple is of course one of them. But yes, so in your case, you have to, I don't think NGO is the right place, because it is it is helpful in the other social enterprises as we have. But yes, in your case, anything where it can be implemented, and Temple is, yes, right, one of them. Yes, anybody has any other story to share? For the NGO part, let's say you've taken a lot of benefit from the NGO with the help of them.
For our business, if I talk, like it is never reached in this position without the help of NGO.
Right.
Yeah. So NGO helped us like from the day of starting the prototype to scaling out to reaching out the pupils across the rural areas.
Right.
So today we are part of more than 500 plus NGOs across, not only in India, across the world.
How old is your business?
Like we started selling in 2018 January we started selling, but we are in this field from 2016.
Right.
January, February 2016. So 5 to 6 years.
So I use Nida, if you're talking, you're on mute. So we read a lot of story on your story, INC42, about businesses who are scaling faster and then attracting investors and raising fund. Because if you want to scale faster, you want to achieve your targets earlier, you need a lot of fund, right? Do you guys have some similar plan in your mind, or all the social entrepreneurs should have this? Because there is commercial angle, not as lucrative as the other businesses, but the scale and impact. And there are investors who are looking for such businesses where they also personally feel that our investment is creating both the impact. So and we read a lot of story, TechCrunch and all of these businesses who are posting constant stories about businesses raising fund. So Meesho is one of them. Meesho has created a social commerce. They are empowering women entrepreneurs, the housewives, to sell their products in the neighborhoods, and they're impacting millions of housewives through the digital, technology empowerment and everything. And it's a funded business, right? So do you have any such goal in your mind? How do you plan to scale your business? Through the profit always, or are you open to take investment from the external resources? How do you believe? Or in some cases, let's say in Anuya, your cases, it can be franchisees, it can be something else. So what is your commercial growth plan, if any one of you can answer?
Yeah, so for my case, in these COVID situations, we have came up with a new solution. Like I have a very technical team which is trained from Government of Karnataka, and they are trained in adventure activities like rope courses, climbing wall creators. So we have started a new vertical for our business, which we create for resorts, adventure parks, and that would be the more revenue generating part for us. And this school thing that's our first priority, so it will be continued.
And how do you charge? Do you charge to school or do you charge to students?
We charge to schools only. Like we work for government only. We purely go for either purely philanthropic activity, underprivileged children, like
Right.
what we earn from the society, we pay to them. Otherwise, we go to government. We are not into private schools,
Right.
as of now.
Right. Yes. Anybody else?
So, Mitesh, as you said that, funding a venture is very, very important. And with EduSarthi, I've been thinking about that. And in fact, you and I have had a discussion as well. However, something that, every time you've spoken to somebody, the thought is, the discussion leans into purely 100% commercial angle, which kind of then, as a social entrepreneur, kind of makes you a little apprehensive that, with the passion or the vision with which I've started EduSarthi, is it going to go away? And I'm going to go back into, managing things for somebody else's money. So that scares me. However, the second part, which is how do you, what you said is very interesting, and that is something which has been on my mind as well. So I would like to, throw the question back at you, saying that are there people who are looking at social enterprises to be funded? Because if that is the case, that's like a perfect combo. If they have a social angle in their mind as well, and not just, okay, give me the sheet, give me the numbers, give me the 5-year growth plan.
Yeah.
So,
yes, absolutely. There are businesses. So I'll tell you, any social media, let's take an example of social media, right? Whether you take an example of Facebook, the word is social because it is impacting society at large, right? LinkedIn, Twitter.
Yes.
None of these businesses initially were meant to mint money. It was meant to stay connected with your friends. Today the purpose, of course, all of you, as we know, that it has changed a bit. But initially when it started, the idea was to connect with people. And when you connect, a lot of things can happen. Because I have your WhatsApp number, this is happening immediately, right? So WhatsApp has connected millions of people. So when those businesses started, the founders didn't have an idea how will we make money. Mark Zuckerberg did not have an idea that I will have a Facebook business page. People will pay for the advertisement, which will be showcased to the millions of people based on their interest. So that was not an initial thought when Peter Thiel invested in Facebook. But Peter Thiel probably saw that you are impacting large number of people. Let me invest in your business. Tomorrow, of course, we have to sustain this business. We will make something out of it without hampering the millions of society. So WhatsApp is not charging the customer like you and me. It is charging to the WhatsApp business, which is a different angle. If you want to do business, your commercial activity, of course, you have to pay money. So similarly, this is about the social media. Similarly, when Facebook invested in Meesho, they saw that the investment is happening in empowering India's women who will use mobile as a technology to sell products in the nearby area. So a lot of technology investment and the educational investment will happen in tier 2, tier 3 women, which is an empowering activity, which is a social impact of Facebook indirectly. I don't know if you guys know about it or not. So as you know, Kavita mentioned in the beginning, I was part of an initiative and the company called Friendly, which is a social commerce business, which has recently, probably 2 days back, have raised 10 crore rupees of funding. What we're doing there, and I'll just take 1 minute to explain that, which probably you can also take your help when you're pitching to the investors. What we're doing here is we are creating social partners in the society. So during Corona, people were not going out for buying groceries because, there was hesitant, that, and everybody was stuck at home. So what we did was, with the help of AMC, we tied up with them and we took a permission to deliver groceries to the neighborhood partners. We call them friendly partners. We have about 1,000 partners as of now in Ahmedabad and tier 2, tier 3 cities. Who are our agents. So they take orders from the building vertically in the society. These orders are delivered every 2 days. So 3 times in a week to their house. And these orders of grocery products are collected from the society, either from the end customer or because they are residing in the same society, they deliver to the houses. And they make some money during this activity as a commission, which is for them as a housewife, it's an extra income to have 5,000-10,000 rupees spending in the society without leaving their house. So there are such business, and this business has raised funding because of this noble cause. And there are millions of women who will be happy to do this when this business will grow. So if your business has such impact where you are helping community to make money, also somebody to educate or any other format, definitely you can reach out to these investors and they'll be happy to invest a large amount of money to scale the business. That is personally my experience. I've seen that. Yes, do we have questions?
Yes, we have 2 questions. First of all, Darshi Patel has asked that does social impact related startups get funding in India?
I just answered that before, probably I saw the question. Yes, they do get funding in India, definitely.
The second question is how to stay positive when people criticize on fees or payment you ask being social impact startup.
Let me reiterate and ask the question to everybody who is here. See, at the end, you buy a costly mobile or a car, right? And people think you are doing social activities, why are you having luxury? And this is just a perception people might have wrong about you, right? So how do you deal with it, that you tell a blind person that you have to pay X amount for this product? We started with this question, and this question has come up in a different angle. So how do you tackle these questions in everybody, that you have to pay this price product in a social enterprise? Anybody can again take this question. Yogita, Nida, Felix.
Okay. Yeah. So as I said in the beginning, also people do question. Okay, you're saying that you want to create social entrepreneurs and you want to help women become edupreneurs. So why do I have to pay for it to learn this skill? And of course, then the response is that we do not. If you compare our product to what's available in the market, one, it's hardly available. Something that we've created. Two, even if there is some close clone that you have, it is priced at at least three times of what we are charging. And the kind of value, the facilitators that we bring in, the administrative costs. So people do, when I speak to them and explain things, they do get to understand. And I have had people join in without asking, saying that, okay, I want to learn the skills of storytelling and I want to join the certification program so that I become a storyteller after this. If I can, yes, I'm interested in joining. So when the school stopped paying, then we moved B2C and reached out to the individual educators. It was much easier to explain it to the individual women who had that creative passion. So you got to keep finding who the audience who would understand you, and then customize your product accordingly and customize your communication accordingly. That's what has worked for me so far. And again, it's continuously evolving. So that's my 2 bits on it.
Nida, in your yes, Ani.
Okay.
Yes, Ani, please go ahead.
Okay. So yesterday only my friend, he's from Delhi, and the name of company is Spy Green, and they raised more than 40 crores, around $5.5 million yesterday only. So of course, this is the answer of your previous question, does social entrepreneurs raise the funding in India? Yes, of course they do. Even we raised in 2018 of 2 crores at the valuation of 20 crores. And right now we are also looking for a big amount of money to enhance our technology, to enhance our products, to create a more impact. Right now we are 100,000, have to go to millions. So, okay. So what is the angle of person looking at you when you are social enterprise, when you are doing social impact? When I started, people are saying in my classmate, I studied in second year of engineering, लोग बोले थे कि यार तुम blind लोगों के लिए torch बना दे. So this is the comments which I received, and of course I got positive from my family and my mentors. Of course, mentors and your family will comes in the picture to stay motivate you. So for me, mentors and the family keep me alive.
Right. Felix, in your case, it's a technology investment. So there must be a lot of money going in technology investment, right? So how do you sustain? How do you plan to grow?
Yeah, actually, first initial couple of years, we wanted to earn and invest more. And this year only we have gone for bank loans kind of thing. We didn't go for any investor because this business is slightly different. We have whatever you work, you will get a business. So it's more like that line. And the second question, what is the you asked about the value. When you give some item free, it will not be valued anyway. So like the machine we have given to Mutt, it was kept unopened for more than 15 days. We had to follow up for just to open the box. So finally we deputed our people to do all these things. So in my opinion, there should be some commercial value involved to get the value for that. So
True.
That's my view.
Anida, your last comment, you were saying something.
So I, for the positive part, because being into NGO or into social enterprise, many times, people will tell you कि आप क्या झोला लेके निकल रहे हो या क्या, retirement वाले काम अभी से कर रहे हो. But I feel while I'm talking with the students or while I'm speaking with the startups and all, what I feel is that it was a passion for which this whole thing born. And I think when the passion is there, you don't need to, get pushed every time. Yes, you do need a hand tapping you for the efforts. But when you have started a startup or a project which is going to impact, the impact itself, keeps you motivating. Like when we are working in an NGO, when a student comes and says that, hey, I got a scholarship and I'm going abroad, or hey, I am, going to go for masters, that itself keeps us getting the next goal, that okay, now this person, if he has reached or she has reached, we can take others also. So I think that's the reason I think social startups are few, because that means a kind of a quality of entrepreneur who will be there staying on ground and will be tackling all the negativities and then coming out of that box. But yeah, the negative points definitely, even if you are into jobs or into business, that is going to come. So I think we should keep that aside and we should focus on how we can progress or how we can improve our projects more. So that is something which I believe we should be doing.
Absolutely. Great words. Thank you so much, everybody, for taking your time out, and we had a wonderful discussion. I got to learn a lot about the social entrepreneurship. I hope people watching this would have got some value out of this discussion.